So I've made a few Japanese language videos primarily last year, not so much this year because I kind of uh, not studied as much recently, but I'm trying to get kind of back into it and trying to get back to it. I mostly use Japanese every day when communicating with friends who I talk to online and stuff, but it's like just one or two messages throughout the day and then I move on, and so I wouldn't really call that practicing. If you are curious about Japanese and you've already kind of dabbled with Japanese and you think that you want to get a little bit more exposure to Japanese, I think I have a pretty decent recommendation and that is in video games, specifically I guess Pokemon, because Pokemon is actually pretty easy to get a hold of in Japanese, and I think that it's actually one of the easier forms of practicing Japanese, specifically because in the newer games they give you the option of toggling on and off kanji. Well, you don't toggle it off. Basically, pick at the beginning which version do you want to play. Do you want to play the one that has hiragana and katakana only, or do you want to play the one that includes the kanji? And let me tell you that without furigana, which is the little hiragana characters on top of the kanji, it is really difficult to sit there and try to translate. I've done it before and it is not an enjoyable experience, especially when you're just trying to consume Japanese media. You sit there for a really long time trying to translate the word itself, or trying to translate the kanji that is being used, and you're kind of grabbing all the little characters. You're trying to mimic the strokes that you see on the kanji the best you can. You know, if you're familiar with the radicals, which are the blocks that are used to make up the kanji, it makes it easier to find the word, but you have to remember how many strokes the radical has, and it's a whole process. It really bogs down the experience, what I'm trying to say. So one of the cool things about Pokemon is that it offers you the opportunity to choose which playstyle you want to do. If you're more advanced or knowledgeable with kanji, yeah, you can definitely play with the kanji on, and it's not going to offer furigana, but you just go with what you know, and maybe you can translate the one or two words that you don't know. But originally when Pokemon was first being made, when the first game came out back in '96, it didn't offer that. And I remember Misa Sensei from Japanese Amo with Misa Sensei actually saying in one of her Let's Plays of Let's Go Pikachu that Pokemon didn't offer the kanji section. This is actually a new feature that was added to the newer games. One of my goals, and it's not the primary goal, but one of my goals when trying to learn Japanese is to go back and play Pokemon, the original, in Japanese. And I have here Pokemon Blue. Now, I got this on eBay for 10 bucks. I'm sure that this is not an authentic version of the game, but it is the game itself, and like I said, I got it for 10 bucks on eBay. No, actually, I'm certain that it's not, because the original games from Gen 1 were Pokemon Red and Pokemon Green. Why I picked Pokemon Blue, I don't even remember at the time, but whatever. I think it actually shipped in from Japan. I played it a lot a lot-ish when I first got it. I think I was able to get all the way to Misty's to Cerulean City. I forget what it's called in this version. But I put it down and I only recently picked it up again, which is how I was inspired for this video. And then I also have here on my light Pokemon Sword. Now, I have this one running in Japanese, which is why I'm showing the light, because the light version is what I picked. Because Japanese is what I picked for the light version. And I'm only an hour in to Pokemon Sword playing the game. And I think that this is kind of like the fundamental root of playing the games in Japanese, with the newer ones versus the older ones. And I think that if you're going to try and play these games, I highly recommend you probably start with this one, probably the older one. I know that Gen 1 is archaic as hell. I know that a lot of the systems are really not polished. I realize that there are a lot of fundamental problems with Gen 1. But if you're playing because you want to practice Japanese and you want to practice getting into the groove of reading Japanese text and going through the story, I think that this is a great route to take, because most of us are really familiar with Kanto. Even if you didn't grow up with Gen 1, you've likely played Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, or you probably played the Gen 3 remake, Fire Red, Leaf Green, yada yada. You've probably done that, so you're kind of familiar with the style. I think that all of the older games are probably I'm certain, I looked it up, that all of the games are region free up until the DSi games. The ones that are, I guess, exclusive to DSi. I don't really know how it works. And then, 3DS was region locked, and then it became region free for the Switch. The reason that I say that I think that you should probably start with this one is because this game just lets you play the game. There aren't too many cutscenes, and the cutscenes that are there, they're not crazy long. You can take your time playing this. You can do the same thing with Pokemon Sword and Shield and the Let's Go games and, Pokemon X and Y. I've done it with X and Y, and it's challenging. It's super, super challenging. But if you have the patience to sit there through the cutscenes, go for it. But I think that this one is just so much better at letting you play the game and letting you sit there and translate it as you go along. And I think that that's probably what you want to do, is you want to get to a point where you get closer to finishing the game. I've been working on Sword for about 4 days, and I've only really just passed an hour, because every time that I do something, I'm immediately bogged down by another cutscene, and I'm like, well, I really want to play this because I like Sword. I think that Sword is really colorful. I really love the aesthetics and the music, and I enjoyed it the first time I played it, so why not try it again, challenging myself with Japanese. But those cutscenes, man, they drag. I already have 7 hours into this one, just from re-picking it up. I played through all of the Misty Gym, I played through all of Cerulean City, and now I'm at the third section. I can't remember the name of it. I just got my bike, and I entered the SS Anne, and I'm enjoying myself. It's a lot of fun. And because the game is primitive in its nature, it allows me to just kind of enjoy the experience rather than, with the cutscenes, as I mentioned, but also just the varying factors that play into the newer gens that have refined the Pokemon experience. Like I said, it's a simpler playthrough, and therefore it's easier to get through, and I think that that's probably one of the things that you want to do. Also, don't worry about translating everything, because when you're learning, if you really try to dissect every single word, you're gonna be there forever. If you feel like you see a word that you really want to, like, well, I want to know what this one says specifically, look it up. You can, and I recommend it, adding it to your library of words that you eventually want to learn. But it's all about exposure. It's all about seeing it over and over and over again, knowing that when you see this word next to this one, you know that this means Pokedex, and if you see Repoto in the start menu, you know that that's for the save. It's all about like learning through context rather than just looking at a word and then just trying to memorize it over and over and over again. And also, it's just kind of interesting to just look at it. So one of the things that I recently seen right now in Blue, I got to where you get the bike voucher with the Pokemon fan club president, which is funny enough that the club is actually called Pokemon Daisuki Kurabu, which is Pokemon Love Club or something. You talk to him, he's using washi as the I form of saying I, which is, if you study Japanese, you learn that there are varying ways to say I in Japanese, just depending on who you are as a person. Washi is very commonly used amongst the elderly, while watashi is super neutral. It could be used by anybody. Ore is really really masculine. Boku is a little bit more softer to use. You normally wouldn't say ore in a text message because it sounds too rough, but you can use boku. It sounds a little bit more chill, I guess. Atashi is more femme, I believe, and watashi is more like high class. I think if I remember correctly. So it's just from playing the game, you see that the president of the Pokemon fan club, he's an old man, and it's these little tiny pixels that were presented back in '96. Like it was up to the imagination to kind of figure it out. And I always thought that maybe the Pokemon president was just an older guy. I really don't know. But through the context of the Japanese version, I learned that he's actually he's an elderly guy, and that's just so cool because he just loves Pokemon so much. Even into his older age, he become the president of this fan club. And I'm sure that it's probably supposed to be presented as like this legitimate club, and it's probably bigger than what it actually is. But if you're playing the game, it's just this little small room with people with their Pokemons, and so you think that it's probably more of like a little niche group off onto the side of this city. And I don't know, it's just kind of cool. It's just really nice to imagine these things and with the context of washi in there, and that gets lost in the translation of the English version. So I don't know. it's exciting, and like I said, like this is still an option that you could go for. If you already have the game, you can just create another profile and play the game rather than going and trying to import a version of this or whatever means you want to go through. It's just that you're gonna have a lot of cutscenes. Like one of the fundamental problems with Sun and Moon is that the entire first half of the game is such a slog to get through. And can you imagine going through that in Japanese, where you're looking at the text and you're not really understanding a lot of it, and you're trying to figure out what it's saying, and it's just it turns like an hour experience into like maybe 2 hours, a couple of days if you're me who plays for like 10 minutes and then a cutscene comes in and I'm like, okay, I think I'm done for now. I'll come back when I'm ready to tackle on this cutscene. I think that I've been talking long enough, but I really got passionate towards the end talking about this, but it's so exciting. It's fun. It's if you're studying a language and you're trying to immerse yourself into the media, this is a great way, and a lot of Japanese learners are Pokemon fans. So I think that this would probably be a good option for you if you're thinking about it. It doesn't have to be Pokemon. I just think that Pokemon is a good option because it's available. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here, and maybe we can talk in the comment section. How long have you guys been studying Japanese, if you're studying it? And if you're thinking about studying Japanese, just know that it is hard. I've been doing it for 10 years. I have my highs and I have my lows as far as how committed I am to studying. And these days I'm not really focusing on the studying just because I'm doing this and other things, but yeah. Think about it. It's fun. It really is. It's just really challenging, and it doesn't get easy. It gets harder the more you progress, because you realize just how much nuance is going on in going into studying a language. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, ciao.